Thanks, Kayla. Well, it's the first one for 2025, and I hope your 2025 is on to a good start. The first trading day of the year, that begins tomorrow. Keep an eye on all our business shows to set your trading agenda in 2025 so you can end up with good profit. All right, but during the final days of 2024, I had the privilege of visiting a farm in the Ekpe area of Lagos, the All Farmers Association of Nigeria. That's the Lagos chapter. The members took me on a journey from the farms to the food market, gauging what adds to the cost of food. And I also did some little farming myself. Enjoy. Members of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Lagos chapter, not really in a working mood amidst the festivities, but ready to share their story in the process of producing food for the nation. Located in the Eredo area in Ekpe, Lagos State, with over 5 million farmers engaged in cultivating arable crops, aquaculture among others, the land size in the area estimated at 150 million parameters with above 50 million uncultivated. Majority of the land are freehold, while lease or rented lands account for about 20 million hectares across the Ekpe border axis. At a farm right here in Eredo, Ilara area, and this farm here produces potatoes, yams, cassava. So we're going to show you how most of these produce are brought out of the ground, and when you get it, at the market, and it finds its way, to your table. Follow us on this journey. Farmers are fully involved in every stage of production. Mr. Yakub Akingwade is harvesting plantain after 9 to 12 months of waiting patiently. The result of Mr. Akingwade's work is 2 bunches of plantains ready for the market.
When the cassava is actually bringing fruit, the plantain bringing fruit, it will have enough sucker to replace it. Even if we leave it, just cut the fruit, it will die naturally because it will actually have the younger ones that will replace it. So next year, this will be the 3-4 that will replace only this one. So we use sickle. So this time to cut it.
This bunch now.
Yeah.
I think I bought plantain earlier this week, and I know I paid about.
If you get to market now, this one should be
I paid about 7,000 or 8,000.
From farm now, this should be around 5,000. So I get it from the market, it will be around 6,000, 7,000. But right from the farm, it will be around 4,500, 5,000. It depends on the distance.
I bought this in Lagos for about 8,000 naira. This bunch.
You know that the cost of transportation, that is, and this one is even because the road here is nearer and the market is not far. But if it is where the market is far, it will be cheaper. But to take it from that farm to the market, that is where the cost of transportation will affect the price.
So how much will it cost to transport a bunch of this now?
From here to our market, here now, it will be around 500 naira. If you want to use Marwa or Okada, it will be around 500 naira. That is the minimum.
But what if you're taking this to a market inside Lagos? Let's say maybe now, one of those markets in there.
It depends on how many, but by then, from here to Lagos, if you have almost around 10 of these, to Lagos, it will cost you around 6,000, 7,000. It depends. It depends on the quantity, because they will charge you based on the quantity.
Maize is another staple crop from here.
It's very easy now, and it's more expensive than the wet one.
And our visit coincides with the harvesting of sweet potatoes. It's been about 5 months since it was planted, efforts in fertilizing and watering, and I get a first-hand experience harvesting.
This is the red type.
Straight from the ground.
Yes. So this is good for diabetes.
The farmer suggests that sweet potatoes are underutilized.
The price too have skyrocketed. Again, it's not like last year. Just because of the labor and irrigation, transportation, for us to get to the farm, you can see now, thank God where we are is even still very close. So that is what is causing the price of those commodities to get more expensive.
One difficulty which the farmers highlight is water shortage.
If you are planning to have an irrigation, you have to have deep line. And deep lines, where we are put, is from another country, and which they will tell you, because of the dollar rate, it has gone higher. So we will now add all those ones into what we will now produce in the farm.
A contribution to Nigeria, being the continent's biggest yam producer, is seen here. AFAN members plant and harvest for export, as they say this species in size is preferred abroad.
This is 3 now.
Nigerian farmers face several irrigation issues, from water scarcity, financial constraints, and others. Farmers here adopt the drip line, a method of watering crops using a network of pipes, tubing valves, and emitters to slowly drip water to the roots of plants. Interestingly, the drip line is majorly imported from Kenya. That was a very interesting experience there, bringing out the potatoes, bringing out the yam right there from the ground, and seeing that at the end of the day, once the food is brought out of the ground, the next thing is to find its way to the market. So a very good one there, and we'll definitely be following the trail to what plays out at the markets, because at the end of the day, after the farm is the market. From the farm, the crops are taken to the markets. The closest here is the Mojoda market, an ancient market and the first in Ekpe. The Mojoda market is a major market surrounded by communities like Ibawa, Ilara, among others, all coming together to buy and sell from the Mojoda market. Poultry is also sold in this market. The skyrocketing price of grains is feeding into the trade of poultry.
This one I'm holding, we bought it from the farm at the rate of 7,800 naira. And transport is still there, feeding is still there. So we just put only 700 naira to sell the market.
What we see in the market today is beyond our expectation. The prices are just too outrageous. We want government to please come to our aid. We can't hit 3 square meal any longer. This country is just too expensive.
Their pricing is 1.5. We didn't do it. So everything is cost. So we buy it like that.
In Nigeria, women make up a large portion of farming population, accounting for an estimated 70 to 75% of a country's agricultural workforce. The Lagos State AFAN women leader makes a case for empowering female farmers.
What we need from the government in order to assist us, because we are the model of the nation. We can feed all the nation, women in agri, food on the table. That is our slogan. We want government to help us so that the reducing of the price started from the fertilizer, the seed, the loan, both loan and grants in normal rates, like 1 digit. We want it from the government.
AFAN farmers have a shared shop in the market. They use it for storage of food commodity from farms before selling to marketers.
Though the prices of commodities inflated, it's very, very high this period, but which is up. But we knew what happened. It was because of the transportation, the high price on the fuel system, and the bad roads of which we bring our foods from where we produce. So we want government to assist us in all those, some of our road that leads to the farm. We want technical assistance, which is capacity building, the training for our farmers. We still want the price of commodity to get lower.
Processing also happens in the Mojoda market. There's an area for blending. Here, cassava is grounded to powder form, mainly for kids. As demand for cash continues to outstrip supply from banks and ATMs, POS operators are here to lend their services. A POS operator here shares how he gets cash.
We only have access to 10,000 naira daily. So what we do is we go to traders, those selling provisions, even those selling yams. So we go to them to source for cash. So in that process, we have to pay charges. So, and then after paying charges, then we have to add little in order to make our own profits.
As the festivities come to an end, experts and economic analysts see food prices cooling in the first quarter of 2025. But as 2025 begins today, it is hoped consumers get a break. All right, that was a very interesting experience for me. They've always had a thing for farming as a kid. Maybe I'll start some kind of little farm in my backyard at some point. All right, to our first conversation now. How can we ensure adequate funding for education in Nigeria in 2025? We'll also discuss the role of student loans, government funding, and private sector involvement in expanding access to quality education for all. Well, joining us for this conversation, that's the first one in 2025, we have Mr. Akintunde Sawyer, as a MD CEO, Nigeria Education Loan Fund. That's NELFund. Joining me right here in the studio. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Mr. Williams. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you. My first guest in 2025. Maybe I'll give you a plaque once we're done with this.
Always good to be the first.
But it's very interesting. Student loans.
Yes.
I know it's a first for Nigeria.
Sure.
At this point, we're not used to that.
No.
And I'd like to know what it was like in 2024 giving out student loans.
It was very interesting because, as you rightly pointed out, we haven't had a scheme like this, I think, since the 70s, okay? And that scheme in itself didn't end in glory for one reason or the other, at least for the generality of people. So this one was met with a great deal of skepticism, a great deal of issues around cultural receptiveness to taking loans, and then, of course, various fears around some of the other schemes across the world that perhaps haven't ended as well as people would like. I think the important thing to stress about this is that this is a sincere loan, it's interest-free, there's a long moratorium for payback, so it's very different to what happens elsewhere. The poverty rates in Nigeria have risen significantly because of 6 decades of, quite a lot of shenanigans. And what we have now is, a very sincere administration that's trying to correct that. And most importantly, with a recognition that education is the thing that can get us out of the woods. So those were the issues, the cultural issues, the approach to taking loans, the government skepticism or the skepticism around government programs, and of course, the usual Nigerian factor, if you like.
And it's interesting you say it's interest-free.
Yes.
At this point. And we know the Central Bank of Nigeria raised rates about 850 basis points in 2024, trying to tame inflation. So you're telling me the interest rates don't impact the student loans at all?
Absolutely not. This is a government program. It's a program that is designed to help the most vulnerable people in society, the people who are vulnerable but want to make a go of getting their lives better. So, the best thing for them is for us to make it as easy as possible for them to be able to access education, to be able to access knowledge. And the best way to do that is to really not make this a commercial activity, to make it an activity that is impactful, that people can embrace, because ultimately it's not just about the individual, it's also about the competitiveness of our nation, Nigeria.
All right, so I'm trying to imagine I'm a student. Though I wish I had this, when I was in school. I wish I could take, some of these student loans, and that would have taken me to a choice school, of my choice. But I'm imagining I'm a student now. My school fees, I need to pay my school fees. I have exams, coming up. How soon do I get that fund?
Okay, so different advantages for different generations, just referring to your earlier comment.
Right.
In terms of how soon you get the funds, the first thing I need to tell you is that we do not intervene directly with students. What we have is an online platform that students engage with. They put in certain pieces of data which we require, and once we confirm their eligibility, we then process. That process involves other organizations outside of us, or other individuals. So of course the students have to be very clear about what they're putting in. They have to be truthful, they have to be honest, and they have to put in accurate information. On the other side, we also engage with the educational institutions, who again have to make sure that they provide us into the database accurate information about their students. Once those two things happen, a process begins. And that process involves the students having, as I said, specific things: a bank account, JAMB entry into a tertiary institution that's owned by government and approved by us in terms of all the criteria that we require them to have. The students have to put in their basic information, like their bank account details, as well as other things that confirm that they are not only Nigerian using the NIN, but also financially included. Going further, once the loans are approved, the institution has to confirm back to us that the people who applied for the loan through us are indeed still with them or with them at all. There is a process there that requires the institution to provide us with the information accurately and in a timely manner. That is an exercise that is a rate-limiting step if the institution don't respond in time. So to your question, how long does it take?
Right.
Well, we carry out our processes and we try to ensure that everything is done within 30 days. However, if information is inaccurate, missing, incomplete, or the institutions don't respond in time, that particular institution will not get the benefit.
So that means there's a risk as a student, I might not get that fund on time.
There's an absolute risk that you might not get the fund on time because there are dependencies involved in this. We're going to improve the technology so that the institutions can upload in real time as they receive new students. But remember, this scheme has only been going since the 25th of May. So it's really about half a year, about 6 months that it's been going. We're watching, we're trying to improve our systems and trying to improve our processes, trying to reduce our dependencies on other institutions. So that way we will find that as time goes on, it'll get faster. The other point I should make to you is that institutions, because of the staccato effect of them having had strikes, their institutional start dates have changed or are not uniform. And so, the time that the loan is approved might be different to the time that value is received. We pay the institutions when they start. We pay the stipend of 20,000 naira a month to the students when the institution starts. So the time you apply and the time value is received might be different. We don't have a uniform system in terms of how, or a uniform start date for institutions across Nigeria. So, those are all the complexities we're having to deal with. And
I hear there's also some kind of upkeep money for the students. How does that work?
Yeah.
Is that part of the loan?
Yeah, you've heard correctly. So there are two loans that people can apply for. They can apply for the institutional loan, which covers 100% of their institutional fees, so that they have unfettered access to classes. There is a second loan that is optional that they can apply for, provided they've applied for the first loan. That's the upkeep that you just referred to. So we pay to the students who are successful at applying, who we approve, 20,000 naira a month for 12 months. So that's the session, the entire session, once they've been approved, and they get those funds every month so that they've got something to
so
put
it's
in
a
their
loan.
pockets.
It's still
a loan.
It has to be paid back.
Yes, it's not a grant.
It's like a loan for consumption.
Exactly. It's a loan for consumption, if you want to call it that. If you can refer to things like handouts as consumption, if you can refer to things like photocopying as consumption, if you can refer to things like buying data as consumption. But of course, the funds are there for them to choose what they want to do with it. If they want to feed with it, it's fine. But it's for consumption, but it's also to ensure that they can go to classes, with some of the things that they need outside of their tuition fees or their institutional fees, which we've already paid. But it is a loan.
All right, so I'm imagining again that I'm a student and I've taken this loan, I've gone through school, but I don't want to pay back. What happens?
So, it's a good question. If you don't want to pay back, then, there's a problem there for you immediately, because one of the things that happens is that we take out a mandate where we can actually retrieve those funds from your account. What we don't do is we don't criminalize those who don't pay back. It's very important to us that people who want to take money or take a loan for education are not criminalized, because it's a good cause. It's a good thing for them to want to do. I don't think you're going to find many people who don't want to pay back. I think you might find people who can't pay back because they don't have a job or they don't have the money. Not wanting to pay back is different to not being able to pay back. What we're doing is we're saying the organization that employs them checks on a database that we have to see if they have a loan. It is the organization, the company, the factory, the business that employs them that takes a 10% deduction from their salary and pays it back to the NEL fund. Unless they're self-employed, in which case there's an obligation on their company themselves to make that 10% payback. They only pay when they're earning. They don't pay when they're not earning. So we don't want to criminalize the people taking the funds, because we want to encourage people to get better education, to rise to the highest levels they can in terms of their knowledge. It makes good for them, but it's also very good for the competitiveness of our great nation, Nigeria, or soon to be great nation, Nigeria.
Right, and I'm trying to imagine what sets students apart, in getting the loan. If I'm studying something that maybe might not be in demand, in future or present, do I still get a loan?
Today, yes, you do get a loan today. As long as the course is accredited by the accreditation bodies in Nigeria that supervise the government-owned institutions, you will get a loan for any course you apply for. However, it's important to begin to think strategically for two reasons. First of all, why would a responsible lender want to give you a loan knowing that the course you're doing may not earn you enough or even get you a job to be able to pay back? We need to start thinking about these things, and the best time to think is now, not later. The second thing about the course-based issue is that we recognize that this is a developing country. Okay? However, we want to define that. We are not Switzerland, we're not Canada, we're not the US. We are developing, we're building, we're trying to get access for our people to all the resources that government can provide so that they can build and add to the nation. We need to recognize that for that reason, we have to look at skills and look at courses that feed into that narrative so that we can develop faster. There is a third point I want to make. The third point I want to make is that there are countries out there who are looking to outsource various things. We've got 78 million people in our workforce in Nigeria today. We want countries to look at Nigeria and outsource some of the things that are perhaps too expensive for them to run themselves in their own countries, so that we can earn the foreign exchange, or we can earn the input from income from those countries delivering to us. If we're training everybody or we're funding everybody to go and do courses that are irrelevant in the world, we're really wasting everybody's time. I said a few days ago that things like shorthand are no longer relevant because secretarial services are no longer really needed. Everybody can type, everybody's got a laptop. So, there are some courses we need to be very careful about. Some have phased out already. There are other things coming in. We've got solar engineering coming in into our world. We've got electric cars arriving into our world. And technology is advancing in so many ways. We've got to remain focused on what's to come, not what has gone.
Right, now talking about what's to come, what can we expect, in 2025?
Okay, so in 2025, so what we've done, the mandate that the president has given to us that has been turned into a law is that we are to provide academic support to those who want to go to universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, those types of places. We've started that, and we believe that we have a fairly useful process going now. Now, as I said, the president has given us a second mandate to go and look at skills development. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said, when we met with him, that we've got to ensure that we are able to process and develop and help and support people who are perhaps non-academic, people who have physical skills, people who have craft skills, people who have creative skills, carpenters, plumbers, tilers, and some of the other engineering or low-level engineering, blue-collar type activities. So in 2025, we're going to put a huge amount of focus into understanding what the courses are, what the vocational courses and the skills-based courses are that we need to be training on, so that we can accelerate our development and reduce the propensity and need for people to come in and do those jobs for us.
Right. Well, quite interesting. I guess you have your 2025 cut out, for you. But, going forward, I'm sure a couple of students got the fund in 2024. What are you expecting for a number of students that would get this fund. And how much are you expecting to get from the budget to fund all of this?
Oh, okay. So by law, we are expecting to receive 1% of federal inland revenue taxes, or collection, should I say. That's probably somewhere in excess of 200 billion, 300 billion, I don't know. It depends on what they collect and what they declare. So we also have the ability to go out and source funding from other places, either from private donors or other institutions of state or privately owned institutions. So that kind of answers, I believe, the funding expectations that we have. We fully intend to invest these funds in looking at the right skills centers, so we're going to be using government-approved skill centers to help train people, where we fully expect to be able to support, or at least affect about 50 million lives. But going back to the first part of your question, on the academic side, today we have about 340,000 applicants for the student loan on the academic side. We're looking really to get to about 1.8 million next year. So it depends on the education, the population, if you like, of the tertiary institutions that are federal government owned. 1.8 million thereabouts are the people we want to eventually fund in the next sort of 12 to 18 months. We'll see who applies. We've got to wait for people to apply.
But very quickly now, before I let you go, what kind of complaints do you get from prospective students?
Okay, so the biggest complaint we get, and there aren't many of them, are that there are sometimes delays in them receiving their stipends. That's happened for a couple of reasons, and even their fees. As I explained to you earlier, there is a process we must follow. We're spending government funds. We're spending taxpayer revenues. We have to have a process, and that process has dependencies. And so occasionally, if an institution hasn't uploaded the right volume of data, they haven't uploaded the complete data, they haven't uploaded completely accurate data, it will cause problems for the students. They're looking to us to give them funds. So they come to us with a complaint. And then, we either ask them to go back to the institution, or we go to the institution and say, look, this is not acceptable. You're holding people up. That's the biggest complaint we get. Outside of that, it's the normal thing you might get with an IT system. I logged in, it didn't let me in.
And I can imagine that will be solved in 2025.
It will be solved, but technology is like that. You will always have somebody who pushes the wrong button, or who pushes the button and something that was supposed to happen didn't happen. That's just normal. Any website will give you. But we're on an online portal. We don't want any human interface. We don't want any graft.
Fantastic.
So that's the price we pay.
All right, fantastic. We'll keep tracking your growth here. Thank you so much. It was great having you on the show. That was Mr. Akintunde Sawyer, MD CEO. Nelfund, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you.
See you again. Enjoy the year.
All right, so that's the end for the first one in 2025. Tomorrow, the markets are open, and definitely you want to watch to know what your investment strategy will be in 2025. Thank you for watching. That's it from me on Business Morning. I'm Ladi Williams. I hand things over to the Sunrise Daily team.